wait about 30 seconds and make sure everybody's here. So, everybody good today? Good. Can everybody hear me? Good on the volume? Okay. Wait just a few more seconds. Get everybody in. Okay. All right, we'll get started. I want to thank y'all for being here. One of the things I want to say is I'm pissed off today. I'm pissed off that we're having to even have this conversation. And what we're going to talk about is an incident that happened September the 1st on Sunday. We responded to a call where an American, a veteran of 36 years, was shot. Now, some people will say, well, what does that have to do with what we're talking about? So we have a veteran, an American, a 36-year veteran of the military who was looking to purchase something online from an individual here in Cullman, who travels to Bruner Street in the city of Cullman, meets an individual who's going to sell a piece of equipment. The individual tells him that the equipment is not on site. They'll have to go look at it. The veteran or victim felt that something wasn't right. And so, like good law-abiding citizens, he had his firearm with him, which is probably the only thing that saved his life. And they get in the vehicle, going down the road from Bruner Street in the city of Cullman out. This individual takes a knife and sticks it to the victim's throat and says, "Give me your money or I'm going to kill you." Well, the victim, being a veteran, being tactically aware, shoots the bad guy. Now, this is the interesting thing about the bad guy. He is a illegal alien that crossed the border a couple years ago, was identified and let go into the U.S. to become a violent criminal in our community. Now, I don't know about you, but to me, that pisses me off that we allow an illegal alien who is identified as Alexander Chin from Guatemala into our country. To make his way, he's only been in Cullman from what we know a couple months, to make his way here to pose and sell something on the internet to then try to murder and rob not only a victim, but a veteran. So once we received the call that we had an individual that had been shot 3 times on County Road 463, or what we call Bates Road in our community, deputies and city police officers responded. Within a short amount of time, we were able to locate the suspect, Abdul Chin, at the intersection of 278 and 31 in the victim's truck, where he was also shot. Now, for me, it is ridiculous that we see leadership today that is allowing criminals to come across our borders to commit crimes on our citizens. A citizen that was just going to buy a trailer to do work, to do what he had been doing for the last, 60 years, going to work, serving our country, doing the things that we do every day. But you take an illegal alien by who we would have never known who it was if our victim had not shot him. The ability to identify an illegal alien that comes into our country is extremely difficult. We've worked with Homeland Security and ICE to identify him, to identify when they caught him coming across the border illegally, and to identify him making his way to Cullman. Over a year ago, as you know, I traveled to the border with a delegation from Alabama. After that, I talked about those illegal immigrants, and we're not talking about women and children. We're talking about men adults, he's 21 years old, that are crossing the border, that 18 to 25, that are coming into our country to commit violent acts upon our citizens. This is a prime example. And today, you see it in California, you see it in New York, and today we see it in Cullman, Alabama, which is ridiculous that we are seeing this. After we made contact with the suspect, he was transported to a hospital where he is still currently there. We worked in conjunction with the district attorney's office from day one, and we charged him originally with robbery first. We do have more charges coming that will be added on once he arrives in our facility. At this time, I want to turn it over to District Attorney Champ Crocker.
Thank you, Sheriff Gentry. I want to start by thanking a lot of people. I want to thank our city and county law enforcement for their response to this crime. I want to thank our media for getting the word out about this as it was happening. I want to thank our citizens, not the least of which are the Good Samaritans who responded to this victim on the side of the road on Sunday. I can confirm that my office has approved warrants for robbery first degree against this offender. We have also approved warrants for a certain person forbidden to possess a firearm. There is a law that took effect last September that says if you are in the country illegally and you possess a firearm, then you can be charged with a Class C felony. We expect there will be more to come. At some point, a grand jury will hear these charges. A grand jury has the authority to add to or sustain the charges. And I would say this, that being in the country illegally may get you a free house in California, but it does not entitle you to immunity from prosecution in Cullman County.
You know, at some point, we have to stand up as Americans. We have to stand up for what is right. When you see things, and especially the last couple of years that we've endured into our country, you just have to stand up and do what's right. We're a nation that wants to help people, but we're also a nation that will not tolerate criminals. As the district attorney said, on the law enforcement side of things, we will not tolerate you coming into our community and hurting our citizens. That is one thing that will never, ever give an inch to you. If you want to be a criminal, we're going to give you all that you want. I can promise you that. You know, we have a great relationship here with our citizens. Our citizens and law enforcement work shoulder to shoulder, and it pains us to see citizens hurt in our community, and it just will not be tolerated. I'd like to open it up at this time for questions.
First and foremost, can you update us or share anything more on the health of the victim as he continues to try to recover?
The victim is recovering. I spoke with a family member today. Our investigators have been in constant contact with him, and he is recovering. And really, it's by the grace of God that he's here, and his family expressed that. Like I said, he is a veteran of 36 years. He was an officer in the military, and number one, I think his endurance because of that is what helped him survive, but also the grace of God, where you have an individual that is firing point blank at you, 2 rounds hit our victim while he's down with the intent to do nothing but murder him. And so the good Lord took care of him and was looking out for him to that day. And his family is very blessed and expressed that to me and to anyone, that the grace of God, he's here because of that.
Will the subject be deported or actually face charges here?
The subject will face charges here. Someone asked me the other day, well, can this person just be deported in lieu of prosecution? No. If you commit a crime in Cullman County, whether you are in the country legally or illegally, you will be prosecuted.
And I'll say this, once he's convicted, and he will be convicted, once he's convicted, then we will happily give him a ride to prison where he will go.
What type of rap sheet did he have?
It's unknown because of him coming from Guatemala. We don't know his history in Guatemala. Unfortunately, when you deal with illegal aliens here, a lot of times you don't know their rap sheet here because they will use aliases. As some of you may know, I worked narcotics enforcement for 11 years. The last 4, I was assigned to DEA out of Birmingham. And it was not uncommon for us to run across individuals like this individual here that had been arrested under numerous aliases throughout the U.S. And that's something that we're working with Homeland Security and ICE on now, is to backtrack from the time he come into the country to this point to see what else is out there pending under those aliases.
Just follow. Go ahead.
The heavy police scene, it was at I-65 and 278 on the foot search there. Did that ever come, like, did that have anything to do with this particular case, or have y'all been able to determine that at this time?
We've been able to determine that there was only one individual involved. Of course, in an active scene like that, we're looking for all possibilities. There was a possibility of a second person being involved. We followed those leads, but once we were able to meet and talk to the victim, then we were able to identify there was only one suspect.
The suspect, did he have an address, or was he squatting somewhere in the area? What was his lifestyle?
He was living in the city of Cullman on Bruner Street.
I guess really, when it comes to the suspect, is this an isolated incident, or we are learned of any other incidents where he perhaps tried to do something like this before in our community?
Right now, it appears to be an isolated incident, but I would encourage, if this has happened to someone else, please come forth. A lot of times, victims, maybe they're not from here, like this individual came from another area to meet the suspect. If this has happened, then we would encourage you to let us know for that full prosecution. In addition to that, a lot of times someone has an incident where, let's say they get robbed just like this. They take their money, but all they can say is it's a Hispanic male. They don't know a name or anything else. The fake Facebook accounts are fake. They're not the real person.
Do you have the medical status on the victim?
The victim is recovering. He's up and he's with his family, trying to get better.
Is there any advice you can give? Unfortunately, this isn't an unfamiliar situation or story when it comes to online sales. Is there any advice we can take away from this to give the community when it comes to perhaps meeting up with individuals they haven't met before to perhaps sell goods agreed upon online?
Sure. Great question. One of the things we advocate is meeting in a safe zone. Of course, the sheriff's office, we have cameras all around our facility. We advocate you coming into our parking lot, meeting individuals there to swap or buy or sell online items. If someone will not meet you at the sheriff's office, then I would not buy it. The city police department also offers the same service with regards to their parking lot also.
Forgive me if you mentioned this earlier. Did you say when the suspect crossed over the border?
From what Homeland Security and ICE told us, Border Patrol caught him coming across about approximately 2 years ago.
Okay. And do you have any details on like the conditions of his release, if he had claimed like refugee status, or if it was just if they didn't have a reason for his release or anything?
Sure. So one of the things that we run into, as I spoke about my trip to the border, which I personally think is ridiculous, you come across the border, they catch you, and they process you. Once they process you, they take your name, fingerprints, and then they give you a court date, typically 5 years out, which, as you know, which is ridiculous because they're not going to come to court. And that appears, I cannot positively say that, but it appears to be the case that probably happened with this individual, because that is what I saw personally when I went to the border last year.
Can you clarify how many times the victim and the suspect were shot? I know you mentioned that the victim actually had a firearm on him. Was he shot with his own firearm?
It appears that he was, through our investigation, because there was a struggle. The individual started making cuts to our victim's face and body with that knife. And so he was able to get off some shots, but there was a struggle with that firearm.
And do we know how much each person was shot by chance?
I believe the victim was shot 3 times, and the offender was shot 1 or 2 times. I mean, the offender was shot 1 or 2 times.
Is the suspect still in the hospital?
Correct.
And for Jim, will this fall under the Anile law?
So robbery first degree is an Anise law offense, and yes, it would be subject to that, and the state will ask for no bail.
From this point, do you think you will receive more charges if the day comes past robbery?
Yes, we will be applying for more charges through the district attorney's office. Yes.
How's this incident, or has this incident helped enhance how your deputies look after the community? Any more, I shouldn't say profiling, but what are y'all doing now to enhance the public safety?
So for us, we've been very proactive since the day that we took office, and we're going to continue to be proactive. I would warn citizens, bad guys are going to be bad guys. The one thing that I'm proud of is this veteran had armed himself, which is probably the only thing that saved his life. And our deputies are going to continue to be proactive and do what we do every day, and that's be engrossed in our community, educate the community, make sure everyone knows that when you have online sales, hey, meet in a safe area. If it looks too good to be true, it probably is. But at the end of the day, bad guys are going to be bad guys, and the only thing that stops a bad guy is a good guy. So thank y'all.